Hello and welcome to Sobrix. I'm Adam and this is Sobrix. This is my channel for reviewing Lego sets and building them and other Lego related stuff. In this video, I'm going to be taking a look at the Lego Star Wars Technic Super Battle Droid set. This is set number 8012. It has 381 pieces and I paid $60 for this set. This is a set from 2002, pretty early on for Lego Star Wars, and I had a lot of Lego Star Wars sets when it first started in the early 2000s, but I did not have any of these, either Jango Fett, Super Battle Droid, C-3PO, R2-D2, Darth Vader, Stormtrooper, that were kind of these like sort of contraction figures or something like that, but were mostly like Technic sets there. And I had some of the other sets that are on the back here, like these. I had both of these and a few other ones. This is a sealed box, and I believe the bags or the contents of this box are sealed, so it is at this point, over 20 years old, and I never built this, but it's really interesting to see some pieces here that I recognize from like Bionicle sets, and I thought $60 seemed okay for this, just because of the time and it's sealed. I think when this came out in 2002, it retailed for like $35, which makes sense, but in 2002 maybe that felt like it was really expensive. I'm not sure, and I'm kind of excited to see how far Technic has come when looking back on something like this, and I'm just really excited to look at another piece of Lego history, Lego Star Wars history. Perhaps this is something that I should keep sealed, but I'm not feeling terribly compelled to do that. I would much rather open it and build it. So I'm pretty excited to take a look at this, and so that's what I'm going to do. So in this video, I'm going to open this up, I'm going to put this together, and then I'm going to share my thoughts on it. So while I build, I will speed the video up, and then I'll slow it back down to review this set. So until then, enjoy. Okay, so while we look at the build for this vintage Lego Star Wars Technic Super Battle Droid set, I just wanted to say thank you for watching, and then remind you, if you like this video, click the thumbs up. If you like my other videos, click the subscribe button. That helps me a lot. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. It'd be amazing to get there. So if you're not subscribed, maybe consider subscribing. It means a lot to me. And then this build took me longer than I thought it would, so I'll kind of spend some time talking about it here, even though the build is sped up. This set is less than 400 pieces, and it still took me an hour and a half maybe to put together. It was kind of a unique build experience. I don't have a ton of experience with kind of vintage Technic sets or older Technic sets. I think in general Technic sets probably take a little bit longer for me, but this one was unique. I was using the digital instructions, but I had some trouble with some of the colors in here, and also like knowing what size pins or axle pieces to use where. So I did have to kind of cross-reference it with the physical instructions, and we're still on the first bag of pieces. We're working on kind of the torso area, and as well as like the kind of hip, lower waist area there. And the first bag of pieces is essentially only the upper body, which kind of, the Super Battle Droids don't totally have shoulders and a head, but they kind of do. They have an approximation of them, so that's how I refer to that. We had these interesting pieces kind of around the waist area, a couple more things to round this out, add these kind of pauldron type pieces, and then some flexible tubes, which do a lot of heavy lifting to get the overall shape. Onto the next bag of pieces. Well, first I was making sure I didn't miss something here, so I had an extra piece that I didn't expect, and I was a little bit confused, but I don't know what the deal was. Onto the second bag of pieces. We work on the legs, and again I'm just kind of cross-referencing stuff with the physical instructions and the digital instructions. The legs are pretty similar here. I was very surprised by these. They're so narrow, and I thought they were going to be really flimsy, and they're not like the most stable. comfortable, but they're just weird and unique and cool and long. This model ends up being a lot taller than I thought it was going to be, so that's kind of neat. And still, compared to the amount of pieces that are in this set, I think it's actually kind of big for that. So there's maybe a lot of empty space, and there's areas where it is kind of narrow or thin or flimsy, but they still do a pretty good job here. So getting the legs together there, we had a few extra details and some different flexible tube pieces and stuff. And then we can move on to the third bag of pieces, which is for the arms, which include the blasters. So you can see we start out here kind of building the hand areas, and then we'll attach the blasters to that. And these have some kind of functions, kind of not. I was a little bit surprised by these. There's one particular part on the other arm that I was frankly confused by, but I did like how this arm, I'm assuming it's the left arm, but it's on the right side of the screen right now, it works, but the other one was very weird to me, which is fun. I mean, I like a good unconventional kind of build and things that go a different way, so we're kind of finishing that up. I spent some time kind of playing with the joints, making sure I have everything correct, and just seeing how the functions look like. So that's everything, and now onto my review for this set. Okay, so that is this Lego Technic, Lego Star Wars sort of Technic Super Battle Droid set from 2002. This is interesting. It was a weird build, and it's a weird model. I kind of have it in a position right now, so it's like on its knee, like that, and you can see it can stand like that. But this was fascinating to look at for a lot of different reasons, and we will get into it here because it's a lot, even though it's relatively small piece count, it's somewhat of a small model, but also not really. So this is pretty interesting. There are no minifigures here, and I don't know if there's anything super important to make note of in the instruction manual, except that this was a weird build. The instruction manual, very big, and they just didn't, like, I don't know if there's really any instances in this instruction manual where they told me to reorient the model so I could better see what was going on. So when attaching one leg or attaching an arm to one side and then trying to attach it to the other, they don't spin the model at all. So it's just you're supposed to attach it over there, but I wasn't exactly sure where to attach it to. Had to kind of figure that out. And I also had some difficulty telling the difference between a couple of the colors in here, even though there's not many colors. There is some instances where I kind of struggled with that, and there's some old parts in here, which is cool, and stuff. And then the other thing I wanted to show, actually, which I really enjoyed, was the bags that the pieces were in, which if you watched the video, the portion of the video for the build, you could have seen them. But the bags are just normal plastic poly bag things, but they have this printing on there where it shows the pieces in this are kind of all for the torso and the hips, and they're branded here and everything like that. This one's for the legs, and there's another one for the arms, which is really interesting. I don't know when they stopped doing this, but I suppose it makes sense to not do it, but I just thought it was cool to see. It also came with this 2002 Bionicle kind of pamphlet, which was really interesting, especially because I know I had some of these Bionicle sets from this era, which is neat to see. And I think this is just mostly Bionicle and Technic stuff in here, which is cool. Mindstorms, yeah, that was a thing as well. So those were just some of the kind of vintage Lego things that came in the box, and then I wanted to spend the time talking about this build. So like I said, the first bag of pieces is really for the torso, head area, and the hips, and this was really cool and also very strange. one of the first things I want to make note of is the color of this. So this is kind of a pearl sand blue. It's almost got like a metallic kind of color to it for a lot of these beams. There's a lot of pieces that have it. These pieces down here. And then there's also just like this light aqua or sand blue kind of color that's not metallic there. And there's some instances in this set where there are pieces that are the same but in one color versus a different color. Actually, if I look at the feet here, we can see these like half beams over here are just kind of the normal blue, and the ones I have over here are this more metallic sand blue, or pearl sand blue there or whatever. So I don't know how they're supposed to go here. I could probably move one of these and swap it with one of these. Easiest would be like this outside one, or that wouldn't be symmetrical there, but I would have to like put this one over here and stuff like that. And I could do that. I couldn't tell from the instructions, which blue I was supposed to use. That could be due to my color blindness or just the lack of being able to tell the difference between these colors when it's in the instructions. But looking at this model, it's really weird because it's not super dense. This model is very big. It's tall, and just as a rough kind of estimate here with these two, it's probably a little like 13 inches tall maybe, or something like that, from the top of these flexible tubes to like the bottom. It's probably around 13 inches, or certainly above 12, maybe slightly less than 13. So there is like a lot of empty space in here. It's kind of this weird bare bones thing. And if Lego were to make another kind of Technic version of this today, I don't know if they would do it. But I did really like how this came together. There's some asymmetry in here, which I thought was interesting, which makes the build techniques a little bit different. There are simple things where there are pieces that just aren't emulated on like both sides. Let me see if I can find the main one I'm thinking about, because maybe right here. So if we look behind the head, or the head area, we can see we have this beam coming out here that connects to like this one, but over on the other side we don't have that, and I don't think we're supposed to, per the instructions. So that's really kind of unique, I think. The overall design and shape for the kind of torso and head area is really well done. I think the flexible tubing here in kind of that silver or gray color there does a lot of the heavy lifting to give you the kind of taper and the roundness that this requires. But just the overall shape of the torso, I think, is pretty accurate and well done, which is nice. I know like these kind of shoulder pads up here were used for some Technic sets that I don't know if they were technically Bionicle, but I think they launched little discs that had printing on them. And I don't know what these were called, speedsters, or I know I have some of these that had like, they might have had like little faces on here or something. But these were an interesting piece that I recognized from childhood. Those are kind of up at the pauldron level there, which is cool to see. And overall, I think the shape here is really good. These pieces are really interesting. They're kind of flexible. These were a Bionicle arm, I believe, but I don't remember what kind. I don't think these, like, maybe these did launch discs or something, because they kind of have a thing to them where they're flexible, but they have a little bit of a spring to them there. I can't remember what kind of Bionicle these were really from, but they're used here kind of in the midsection, the waist area there. And this kind of body up here does provide a lot of the structural center of this. You kind of build it out down to the bottom, and then the stuff like down here around the legs you don't build till after. We also have this nice tube back here. This is another Bionicle piece in here that's sort of used for the hips, waist, kind of crotch area there, which is a kind of a hook piece from a Bionicle set, but in this sand blue color, but not the pearl sand blue. The flexible tube here, I thought there was going to be some functionality with this, because the way you put this together, I thought this was going to trigger something. It doesn't, but that's okay. This is another piece that I think was used for a Technic or Bionicle like foot piece or something there. So cool to see that. These pieces on the shoulder and on the hips were used in Bionicle sets as maybe hands or something of the sort for various kinds. Those are a unique piece. Cool to see them there. And I don't know if there's anything else like in the build for the torso that really stands out to me, except for there's a couple little gears in here. There's just 2 of the gray gears. So a smaller one and then a bigger one. And I'll kind of show what those do a little bit later, but then I wanted to talk about the legs. These legs are crazy. They're so narrow. They're very, very thin. And they have a lot of joints and interesting stuff. So you can see they're jointed up at the hips. We don't have hip rotation necessarily, but these are like the older style, like ratchet joints. It's the same one that's down here and down here at the ankle. So we can rotate these legs and you can kind of hear that click. We can also like bend the legs up at the hip there. And these are like 2 pieces, and then the black piece is a separate. So it's like 3 pieces for that. Now I believe Lego makes these with the 2 sides and the black piece are all going to be like 1 piece together, and then they just go into this like the receiving piece there. So this was done a little bit differently back in the day, which I thought was unique. And I'm just surprised that like there's not much to these legs. I mean, looking at it from the side, we have like, this rounds out some shape to maybe look like, thighs or quads or, calves, even though these don't have like muscles, but to kind of get that, musculature that makes it look more, I guess, human, bipedal, whatever. And that's really interesting, but I was so surprised at how narrow these are and how stable it was considering the amount of joints. So we do have the ones up there, like I said, they can rotate at the knees here. We can rotate this around other way there. We can also bend it forward, bend it backward, bend it forward there, and then another one down at the ankle here, so we can move the foot. We can bend the foot back. We do have some of these flexible tubes coming in here that don't like really go into anything to terminate. So like the ones on the back there will move, and if you kind of move the foot too far, that will come out of there. So that's something to keep in mind there. That doesn't really limit the range of motion, but it might be kind of an annoying thing to keep having to put those flexible tubes back through those Technic pinholes there. So you can actually get this into some pretty good like walking poses, and so we can get it like this, so it's kind of like walking forward. We can like tilt the whole like torso forward or backward like that, but again, this came out of the knee piece there, which is a little bit frustrating. Not terribly difficult to get it back to get back in place, but that's that. It can stand on its own like this, but these legs are thin and flimsy. It's essentially all just these joints. So looking at the feet, we do build out the feet, like I already showed the bottom, to make them a little bit wider. These are a Bionicle feet that I recognize there, but really cool to get them in this color. We do build that out a little bit to increase some stability there, I would assume, increase just the surface area that this is balanced on. But then like the joint piece connects there at the bottom, and then that goes up to about here. We connect that with these, I don't know what to call these kind of curved pieces with the L half beam there, and just one on each side, and that connects immediately to the next kind of receiving end of a joint, into another one of those, and that's it. We do add like some Technic pins through the joints there. Same up here. We had this circle on there to kind of round out the knee area and stuff up here, but there's just not a lot to these legs at all. They're pretty much the same right to left. The feet aren't identical. They're mirrored a little bit there. Same for the legs, but for the most part, the legs you could build at the same time and then just make note of like where the outside of the knees versus the inside of the knee areas are going to be, and then the rest of it is pretty much the same. So and then connecting them was kind of unique too, because we do have the joint also all the way up at the hips, and then we do have these black flexible tubes here which connect with these pieces up in the torso, and then it feeds from there down into here on either side. Add these bigger bionicle hand pieces to the hips there as well. Moving on to the arms, which is the third bag of pieces, this was really interesting, and you start by kind of building the hands actually, and I'll turn this around to kind of show how it maybe has it on the box or on the instructions. Let me grab that. Because in my memory, this kind of has it on the instructions with the bent elbow there. It's kind of in a walking pose, and the elbow is bent like this, and the hands are kind of on the side there. So the blasters are kind of vertical, but I remember them being more straight out and horizontal. So we can have it like that to make it look like it's walking or something. So we can bend this. We can spin this, but not when it's bent. So I wasn't showing it there. We can spin the arm here at the elbow, but not when it's bent. And then we can move the arm here as well, which is kind of what I like to have it set at. So if I move the arm up here to try to get it parallel to the ground, try to balance this out, and then I might turn this a little bit to try to make these parallel with the walking surface there. And that feels to me more accurate to how they are in the movies that they appear in, and other things there. So I don't really love how it's presented here. This feels a little more accurate to me, but I do like that it can get there. At least for right now, there's not a ton of sagging going on over here, but that connection's I'm actually not even sure what that connection is. It might just be spinning a Technic pin in there. So over time, I imagine that this is going to droop, most likely. But good that we can get that there. And yeah, it is nice to be able to bend the arms. We can kind of bring the arm in front of the head or torso area there, and you can have them down by the side for sure. So that's pretty good. I think the hands are done nicely. We can kind of see what looks like fingers and hands there. So I think that's pretty good. And that's kind of the one arm here, and then the other arm has a similar thing, but a couple little differences. So we can bend the arm there, we can kind of move the arm like this, and we can bend the arm, but we can't bend the arm and rotate this one to get it level. And if we do that, we can't lift the arm up all the way to make this kind of look like this one there. And that's because there's a little bit of a function. This connects to the gears that are in the torso. And then there's kind of a lever back here, and you can move this to make the arm move back and forth. Now, I'm not sure if I have this kind of connected properly, because it doesn't, it feels weird that you lift it up to push it forward and then push it down to move it backward. But in doing so, you can kind of make this swing its arm like it is walking. But if I turn this back around and get it kind of to the side there, we can kind of get it to look like it's kind of raising its arm sort of to use its blasters and engage in some sort of fighting here. And that's okay like that. So that's a kind of a weird function. I actually thought I was missing something at first, because I thought maybe this was supposed to connect with this somehow, but it doesn't appear to be the case. So just looking at it from the side, you can kind of see the range of motion here. And like I say, when it's curved like this, it can get to the front kind of nice, but then we can't rotate this at all, the hand. And then I don't know what this is supposed to do. I mean, I just frankly don't know. There's a rubber band here, and it's connecting these pieces, but I don't know if there's supposed to be some sort of deployment kind of thing there. Like it can be up here, and then when it pushes forward, maybe those are supposed to like flip forward. I don't know about that. The other side does not have a rubber band in the same way. So I don't even really know what this is for, but it is there. And so if you know what that's for, please let me know. I haven't been able to figure out what the deal is with that. And I don't think there's like, yeah, that's just a little bit strange that this is set up to do that when it could have been done a different way, maybe just making it stationary like that. But that's kind of some of the function here. And like I said, you can pose this different ways. I was able to kind of get it down to its knees. And if I flatten the foot out and everything, and then lean forward kind of at the hips and get this front foot kind of spread out there, there's ways to get this. And because you can kind of like rotate this at different places, there's a little bit of leeway to kind of balance this out. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to find that right here right now, but I had it earlier. Well, there's something like that. So that's not terrible. We might want this to be leaning forward just a little bit more, have the arm a little bit here. And I think that's pretty good. It's relatively stable, good to get there. It's not perfect. I do think these legs are a little bit flimsy, a little bit thin, and just because the number of joints, even though they're ratchet joints, it's somewhat tricky, but I think getting the hang of it makes this okay. I don't know if this is supposed to be a construction figure like I initially thought. It's possible, but I'm not sure. It seems bigger, and I don't know what and I mentioned these when I was looking at the Droidica display set that was mostly, system built or brick system built from 2024 versus this one from 2002. There were those like Star Wars buildable characters, and I don't know what scale those were at. In that video for the Droidica, I was sort of questioning whether or not that was in scale with those, or maybe those are closer in scale to this. I think this released alongside some other things here, like a Jango and a Darth Vader, which these look relatively similar to this, although like that helmet piece looks really unique. And yeah, the Vader one looks kind of cool. That cloth piece is cool too. The legs are pretty similar to this, and for Jango, I believe that's who that is. I'm not exactly sure about, and I think they did a C-3PO and an R2-D2 as well, kind of in this same Technic-esque sort of thing. And I also know, this shows other vintage sets. Like I definitely had this and this when I was a kid. I probably still have them. I had this when I was a kid, and I still have this. It's not sealed, however, but I have it built. Maybe one time I'll talk about that. I did do a video about the more recent Yoda kind of statue that had the lightsaber. I'm pretty sure I covered that on my channel, but I do have that original one also from like 2001, 2002 here. And because I think they're celebrating, 20 years of Lego Star Wars, or 20 years since the Clone Wars, or whatever else. What was it? 25 years of Lego Star Wars? Is that right? Is that what the like special brick says for certain things? Let me grab one and see here. Yeah, it says 25 years of Lego Star Wars, so that puts us at 1999. Is that when the first Star Wars Lego sets were coming out? I suppose that maybe makes sense. That's when the Phantom Menace came out, I believe. So, that's interesting. So this isn't quite 25 years old. It wasn't like an anniversary set or anything like that. This is currently 22 years old, which is still old. Cool to find it sealed and stuff. So that's kind of unique. I was glad I was been able to get a chance to look at this. Overall, I think the design is pretty good. The build process was really strange and unique for me, because I sometimes talk about like there are eras of Lego that I am not as familiar with, and it's always interesting to go back to look at like vintage stuff. And I particularly look at vintage like brick built stuff, but going back and looking at like older Technic stuff is something that I haven't even really considered. So this was pretty interesting for that. I think this color is awesome. I don't know if this color exists anymore. I would love to see it come back or something similar to it come back. It's just a really unique color. This kind of metallic pearl blue sort of thing here is very, very cool. So I like that. I'll show the extra pieces. I had to look this up because there were extra pieces here that I did not think were the typical extra pieces that Lego would add. Some of them seemed a little bit big, and I think I have one here that is in a rare color, but maybe shouldn't have been an extra, but I went through the instructions multiple times and I couldn't find where I was missing it or if there was a simple color swap or something like that. And then because we do have the rubber band in here, just that one use, it did come on this kind of piece with several rubber bands on it. So you get extra rubber bands, which is nice. I don't know if they always do extra rubber bands or not anymore. Maybe they don't. And I don't know if these rubber bands were like prone to drying up and cracking, and maybe they're or splitting or ripping, and maybe they're better about rubber bands now. I'm not positive, but those are extra as far as I know. And then the rest of these extra pieces, a lot of your just pins here, none of the smallest kind of like axle, like this is the Technic pin here, but not the axle version of that, which you do use several of. This is a piece that's in that kind of pearl blue kind of color, and there are versions of this piece in this set, including like up here by the pauldrons, that I used the just other blue for, not the metallic one, but so I could swap this in for one of those. And there are other places where it uses that kind of piece. I think back here it uses the metallic one, or no, maybe not. Maybe that one is just a plain blue one too, so I could swap that one in there, but I'm just not sure about that. And then the rest of these, like these pieces, I wouldn't typically expect to get extras of, well, like these four in today's, so these are kind of unique. I think, at least from what I saw on the internet, it was standard for this set to get an extra of each of these, as well as these kind of bushings, pins, the smaller black flexible tubing there. So that's kind of unique. I just don't know about this one in particular. So weird. I'll maybe have to do some more investigating to see if I missed something, but I don't believe that I have. So that's kind of that. And then this set is 381 pieces, I believe. I think I saw it somewhere online saying it was 375, but the box that I have says 381 pieces, and I paid $60 for this set. So when this came out in 2002, I think it was $35. It is now over 20 years later. I got this sealed, and that's a little bit of a rarity, I would say. That seems like there's only going to be decreasing amounts of this set sealed out in the world. And, you know, at the very least, there's one less right now because I bought this and put it together and opened it. So paying almost double the price for this, I think, is understandable. It doesn't bother me that much. Do I feel like this is a $60 set? Like I got $60 worth of Lego here? It's hard for me to say. I don't feel bad about the money I spent on this in any real way. I don't have buyer's remorse because I really enjoyed it. And it's hard for me to put a dollar value on the like nostalgia and the even though I didn't have this set as a kid or back in the day, but like hard to put a value on like being able to look at a piece of Lego history like this in sealed condition and everything, and to go just back in time when the Lego company, the Lego group has changed so much over the last 20 years. So for that experience, I don't know how to value it, but it seems maybe invaluable in some respects. I don't feel like this is $60 worth of plastic or $60 worth of Lego. As far as the like build experience goes, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a little more, I don't want to say it was complicated, but it was it was just different than I anticipated. And I think it took me a little longer than I thought it was going to as well, especially considering the piece count, which might be true. Like a 381 piece Technic set might take most people a little longer than a 381 kind of brick system set. I don't know that for a fact, but it seems like that might be somewhat true. So this one just took me a while to put together, and it was just very unique, and it's a big model. I think it looks cool to display, and it's just weird and fun, and I'm very, very grateful. So, to that I got to look at this. I think, the market price of this right now for a new one sealed like I got is probably $60 to $70. I'm sure there are some listed way, way more than that. And who knows into the future if this will be something that more people are looking for. I would say it's probably kind of past its peak in terms of, the price increases, but maybe when it gets down to there's only one left in the world that's sealed, that'll be different. But at least for now, I think there are still some available on Bricklink and other websites in the aftermarket. And I didn't get this on Bricklink. I got this a different way, but they're out there at least for now. And $60 doesn't feel that bad considering what all the context surrounding this set. $35 in 2002, adjusting for inflation, I don't know what that is. Okay, if I looked it up quick, if in 2002 this was purchased for $35, in 2024 this US inflation calculator says it would cost $61. So in some ways, I paid for this along the lines of inflation. I know that's not like the perfect thing to judge this based on, and that's not necessarily what prescribes or what calculates the market value of a given set. I'm sure there are sets that have gone up in value more than accounting for inflation, and I'm sure there are sets that are not worth as much accounting for inflation. And so this is an interesting case where it's kind of right in line with what I paid. Is roughly so like the $35 to people buying this in 2002 is in some ways equivalent to the buying power of $61 in 2024. Again, that's not like super one-to-one. It's a little more nuanced than that, but just for reference for this, that kind of makes sense and is kind of interesting there. So I don't know what the vibe was around this or what the discourse around this was when this came out in terms of it being a $35 set for the price per piece kind of people. Maybe that made sense, but I don't know, just because it's different with all the small bushing pieces and the small pins and axles and different stuff. So hard to say. In my opinion, in my mind, and for my money, I feel okay about this, and I just really enjoyed it. It's a to me a truly unique opportunity and exciting opportunity and a very fulfilling one. And so overall, I had a very positive experience with this, even though the model's not perfect and it's weird and it's strange and the price was, maybe a little bit high compared to what I have here. The experience in totality was worth the money I paid for this in the end, and I'm happy with that. And so I really, really liked this, and maybe you did too. Let me know if you had this set back in the day in 2002 or any of the other like Lego Star Wars Technic-esque sets. Let me know if you know where some of these pieces come from in terms of the Bionicle universe. Let me know in the comments below. I would love to learn about that and hear about that from anyone that views my videos. And I think that's it. So if you like this video, please click the thumbs up and give it a like. If you like my other videos, click the subscribe button down below so you can stay up to date on all the Lego videos I'll be doing here in the future, including more Lego Star Wars, more Technic sets, then tons of other Lego sets from all different themes, all different shapes, size, price point, piece count, tons of different stuff, old sets, new sets, retired sets, hard to find sets, exclusive sets, sealed sets, used sets. Yeah, just tons of different stuff, big, small, all the way in between. So if you're interested in my opinions on various Lego products, maybe consider subscribing. That helps me a lot. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, so I appreciate each and every one of you. It's just very, very helpful, and I'm very, very appreciative. And then if you wanted to support this channel in a different way, you could do that here on YouTube with membership supers and thanks. And I have the Patreon. It's in the video description. It's on my channel page, patreon.com/sobricks. So maybe consider checking those things out. Again, I do appreciate it, and I appreciate this build, and I appreciate anybody that watches and likes and comments. It just means a lot to me. So thank you very much. And with all of that said, until next time, thanks. Bye.